There are three types of stalls that you need to be familiar with and be able to identify with your parachute. The first stall is an aerodynamic stall, and I remember this stall in terms of aerodynamic, meaning it still has some flight characteristics. You may still be able to turn left and right, but your canopy is already in a stalled configuration, so depending on your wing loading and the canopy size, flaring any more could make the situation worse. With an aerodynamic stall, your canopy is more in a steady sink rate and not fully stalled. Some canopies are designed to fly better in an aerodynamic stall than others. A lot of accuracy canopies and even student canopies are designed to handle an aerodynamic stall well. A dynamic stall occurs right at the very end of a flare. So if you think about doing a full flare, you feel your body swing forward underneath the canopy, generate some lift, and then if you hold it there, you'll feel yourself swing back, and then the nose of the canopy will also dive again to start picking up airspeed. The very peak of that flare, right before the nose of the canopy starts to dive forward, is the start of the dynamic stall. Now, if you do a full flare and you hold those toggles down for a long time, depending on the size of your canopy and the wing loading, that dynamic stall could turn into a full stall. In a full stall, the tail of the canopy is held below the nose of the canopy. This causes air to be forced out the front of the canopy and causes the parachute to almost fly backwards and collapse in on itself. If you continue to hold the toggles down in a full stall, it could continue to make the situation worse. Especially with small canopies, this could result in line twists that you have to cut away from. If you attempt to do a full stall too low to the ground, you also risk additional injury. If you are going to try a full stall, make sure you practice it way up high and also read the parachute manufacturer manual to see if they recommend against doing a full stall. Student canopies, especially with a light wing loading, are designed to be more stall resistant. On a student canopy, if you hold the toggles down, it's probably not going to go all the way to a full stall. It'll probably stay in the aerodynamic stall, allowing you to sink more to the ground. You can try a full stall to see what it's like once you're a little bit farther along in your student progression. If holding the toggles down all the way doesn't cause a full stall, you may need to wrap your hands around the brake lines a little bit extra to pull the tail of the canopy down farther. In order to recover from a stall, you want to raise your hands smoothly to a full flight position. Now we're going to talk about timing your flare to get the best, softest touchdown for landing. One reason we keep our hands together in front of us during the flare is so that we can make sure our hands are even during the flare. You'll hear skydivers talk about the sweet spot when it comes to flaring. This term is a little bit confusing because it includes how fast you flare in addition to how far you flare. Pulling the toggles at different speeds and different depths changes the way a canopy flares. Flaring the canopy quickly may give you more of a pop up in altitude than flaring the canopy slowly. And remember to stop all maneuvers that you're practicing at 1,000 feet so that you can start your normal landing pattern. With a normal flare, you're going to get a little bit of lift right before you touch down. If you flare the canopy way too fast all the way down, that can actually cause you to pop up too much. Popping up too high can give you a little bit farther to fall before you touch the ground. With a light wing loading, student canopies are designed so that you don't get too much of a pop up. And if you do pop up, the canopies are designed to go into more of a steady state sink rate instead of a full stall. On the other hand, if you flare too slowly, you're never going to get that pop up. A slow flare is only going to slow your descent rate, but not give you that lift. Now we're going to talk about some drills that you can do in order to find that sweet spot and the sweet speed. We're going to have you do a half flare at different speeds, medium, fast, and slow, to see how much lift you get. Then we're going to do that same thing with a full flare and then also with a short flare. After each flare, we're going to want you to go back into full flight for about 10 seconds, allowing your canopy to pick up the normal speed. With each flare, your goal is to try and see and feel how much lift you get. After doing all of these drills, you should have a pretty good idea about which speed and depth gives you the best lift without popping you up too high for landing. So the first drill is to flare about halfway, which is about to your rib cage, at a medium speed. Try and feel how much lift you got when you did that. Then let the canopy go back into full flight for about 10 seconds before you flare medium again at a fast pace. Flare quickly down your rib cage and again try and feel how much lift you got. Let the canopy go back into full flight for about 10 seconds before you try a half flare again at a slow speed. Each of these speeds, flaring medium or halfway to your rib cage, will give you just a little bit different flare and a little bit different lift. Then you're going to want to try the same thing with a full flare at all 3 speeds and also with a short flare all 3 speeds about down to your shoulders. This will help you learn what your canopy is capable of, and you'll want to do these drills each time you get a new canopy. For student canopies, the sweet spot is usually a flare all the way down to medium to fast speed. Once you find the sweet spot of the flare, you're going to work on timing that flare at a good height above the ground. As you do a flare for landing, you'll start recognizing whether you flared too early or too late. If you flare too early, you're going to get that lift, but you're also going to start dropping a little bit farther than it would be a soft landing. If you flare late, you may only start the lift before you touch the ground. In all cases, be ready for a PLF, and eventually, after practice, you'll find the right visual cues to give you the right timing for your flare. One key to timing the height of the flare is to look out in front of you at about a 45-degree angle. Don't look straight out at the horizon, and don't look straight down between your feet. A good visual cue is about 45 degrees out in front of you. As you're practicing these drills or any other drills under canopy, make sure you're very vigilant for other traffic in the area, especially when you start to enter your landing pattern. The most dangerous part of a landing pattern is turning from base to final. If you do see another canopy, the lower canopy has the right of way. Remember, it takes 2 jumpers to cause a collision, but only 1 vigilant jumper to avoid a collision.